Alright Shuvitsquad, today I'm giving you a video that I hinted at a long time ago, and today I'm finally giving you that video. The bad Perc Angle matches. It's hard to believe there was any from such a great wrestler, but they're out there. For this list, I've tried to avoid multi-man matches because there's too many moving parts, and if the match sucked, it likely wasn't Kurt's fault. Now I know there's going to be some goons in the comments who take this video the wrong way. If you're one of those people, punch yourself square in the gut. The Hawk loves this man. Greatest of all time. The point in this video is to show that the wrestling machine Perc Angle wasn't always perfect, even though it felt like it. These matches are bad by Kurt Angle standards. But of course, if I missed any out, let me know in the comments. Let's get into the top 9 worst Perc Angle matches, ending with the worst. Why is it 9? Because I said it is. Shut up you goon or I'll smack you one. Number 9, Kurt Angle vs Eddie Guerrero Lumberjack match from SmackDown 2004. This is the match that Kurt Angle himself has listed as the worst of his career, so I just had to include it if the man himself said it was bad. But his memory isn't what it used to be, and I don't agree that it was the very worst of his career. And it wasn't like it was his fault either. Angle said that Eddie was in a really bad place and he barely had the energy to move around the ring. It's made more awkward by the fact that they're surrounded by the entire roster who are just watching this snooze fest. Eddie is noticeably slow and panting in this match. Angle said there was a conversation going on in the ring where Angle was trying to encourage Eddie to move, and he was pushing Eddie too hard. It was clear that Kurt was trying here as he was bumping everywhere and looked intense, so I disagree about this being Kurt's worst match, and it's not even really Kurt's fault anyway. This match contains a head scissors and a superplex and Angle flying out the ring a bunch of times, so it can't be that bad. It ends without a winner when everyone gets out of control, and the Big Show returns looking like your creepy uncle. Number 8, Abyss vs Kurt Angle from Impact in a cage match in 2010. The first entry from the TNA side of things. This list is quite TNA heavy, which makes sense because he spent more of his later career in TNA when his body was breaking down. A common trend on this list is bad matches which weren't really Kurt Angle's fault, and nothing highlights that more than this ridiculously dumb offering. Now these two have had some great matches in the past and it seems to be going along okay. It certainly gets a big tick in the violence box. And then it all comes undone. Angle starts looking at the top of the cage, somewhere that he often ventured in the late 2000s. And as he starts to climb the cage, we get Mike Tenay frantically informing the viewers that they've run out of time on the show. Angle is at the top of the cage, and the show literally ends. So this is a match you can't even see the ending to. That poor Perc Angle was about to hit a Perc Salt, and they took him off the air. Now TNA got around this by saying the conclusion of this match would be on Reaction, a television programme that didn't even air in a lot of countries. I've read the write-ups though, and what happened was Abyss pushed the referee into the cage and knocked Kurt Angle down, and the match ended in a no contest. A very fitting way to end a match that I couldn't even see the damn ending to. Number 7. Kurt Angle vs Mark Henry, Royal Rumble 2006 for the heavyweight title. This was the match that ended the show. It actually went on after the Royal Rumble match. It doesn't really sound worthy of a show-ending match, does it? And you'd be right to think that, because it wasn't. Angle defends his title in a match that only ran 12 minutes. It's often said that Kurt Angle could drag a good match out of anyone. I mean, he gave Wes Brisco his best match ever. But that statement proved overall incorrect here, as even the master of the Perc Salt ran out of ideas. The match feels like it lasted forever and it put me to sleep. Angle beat Mark Henry of a schoolboy whilst holding the ropes. I won't go too hard on Kurt because Henry clearly shouldn't have been main eventing in 2006. Number 6, Kurt Angle vs The Undertaker, Fully Loaded 2000. Angle and Taker met twice on pay-per-view in the year 2000 and neither match was particularly well received, but I think this one just about edges it out of the two. The other one had Eric Angle, and I think that was pretty memorable. This one doesn't. What it does have though is The Undertaker squashing Angle in a completely one-sided 10-minute affair. Angle was fresh off his King of the Ring victory, so this match is really strange. The Taker beats him with a chokeslam and a last ride without Angle putting up much of a fight. It wasn't a particularly bad match, it was just strange and lacking in action. Number 5, Kurt Angle vs Big Money Matt for the TNA World title on Impact in 2016. As you're about to see from this list, Kurt Angle's final run in TNA isn't looked back on fondly, with several of the matches making today's list. This one's happening during Kurt Angle's retirement tour. As it turned out, he was only really retiring from TNA, but Angle basically had a list of guys he'd chosen to have final matches with. And it's an impressive list of guys. But he didn't choose to face Matt, he was just being a dick to Kurt, so they decided to have a match. Matt has his bitch wife Rebby and Fatboy Tyrus with him just to add to the poor match quality. And of course, Fatboy constantly interferes. The match features constant rest holds as Kurt Angle turns an alarming shade of purple. He looks so unhealthy on his final TNA run. And you know you're in trouble when Matt Hardy is comfortably outspeeding you in the ring. Around this time, Kurt Angle was known for spamming his finishers and German suplexes. We certainly get a lot of that here. Matt Hardy kicks out of 2 ankle slams. We get 3 separate sets of German suplexes. Kurt Angle's matches were about as creative as a punch to the gut. Matt Hardy beats him with a top rope twist of fate, not up to Angle's usual standards. Number 4, Kurt Angle vs Samoa Joe from Impact in 2015. Sounds good on paper, right? These guys have classic matches. Well, not in 2015 they didn't. The good times were almost a decade ago. One guy is over the hill, and the other guy looks like a hill. Or a lump. Samoa Joe couldn't have given less of a turd about TNA in 2015. In a television opening match, we're treated to a 5-minute fight. The cameraman seems to be based on a trampoline, everything's shaking. Both guys are exhausted after just 1 minute. Joe puts on a figure 4 with the commentators pointing out that it doesn't look right. They cut away from the match because there's an empty chair that's more important. Joe kicks Angle in the corner and both guys proceed to spend 15 seconds catching their breath from that one. Joe kicks out of an ankle slam and hits a Uranagi. Kurt starts spamming ankle locks. He looks dizzy from all that twirling around. Joe wins with a kick to the nutsack and the rear choke. Angle barely put up a fight. This match was an insult to their past classics. Number 3. Kurt Angle vs Eric Young from Impact in 2015 with special referee Bully Ray for the World Heavyweight title. This is Kurt's final run as heavyweight champion in TNA, and it wasn't great. At one point in the early going, Angle falls over for no reason. He looks disappointed with himself. Admittedly, he recovers with an arm drag from up in the ropes. Lots of stalling as Angle turns a very strange shade of red. He really looks like he's struggling in this one. Eric Young basically carries this match. Young eventually kicks Bully Ray in the nutsack so Angle can be triple teamed by 3 people interfering. Ray recovers from that one and he takes out Eric Young, allowing Angle to hit the worst ankle slam of all time. It doesn't finish Young though, and it shouldn't have. Regardless, Angle wins moments later by rolling through a crossbody into an ankle lock. Even I'm not sure how Angle won this match. He did one move. It wasn't a match you'd expect from your world champion. Number 2, Bound for Glory 2015, Kurt Angle vs Eric Young, no DQ match. Yes, it's the second Kurt Angle vs Eric Young match in a row. I'm not knocking Eric Young, it was just late in Angle's career, and he happened to have some bad matches with Eric. This has to go down as the weirdest Kurt Angle match of all time. The story here is that Angle is coming into this match hurt, and TNA is desperately trying to turn Eric Young into a believable main eventer. Within 2 minutes, Eric Young hits a pile driver. They do an injury angle, and it's all hushed voices and reality. The doctors come and they want to take Angle away, and they say they've called the match off. His neck is too bad to continue. Young says screw that, and he assaults everyone with a chair, and he wants the match to carry on. Angle is crying on the floor saying, "It's over, Eric." The crowd are in silence. Eric gets Kurt back in the ring and hits him in the face with a chair. The crowd want them to use a Captain America shield. They don't. Angle suplexes Young on the outside. Despite the ring mats being exposed, Angle suplexes Young onto the pile of remaining mats. It looks so stupid, why? He no longer cares about the injury angle. He's flipping Young off, he's scurrying around the ring and he's hitting German suplexes. Young of course kicks out the Angle slam. After a few minutes, Kurt remembers his neck hurts again, but not too hurt to kick out of 2 top rope elbow drops. Eric Young tries to stack Kurt Angle up on the top rope, and he proceeds to fall onto his head. Ugh. They do it again, and it's just so Angle can reverse a top rope pile driver. Eric Young forgets it's a no DQ match and there isn't rope breaks, and he eventually taps out. I also have to question why it was a no DQ match, because it wasn't like they really made the most out of that stipulation. Angle did 0 moves in this match, he forgot to sell his neck, and he still won. An ugly, dumb match. And number 1, let me know in the comments if you knew this would be number 1. It's Kurt Angle vs Baron Corbin at Wrestlemania 35 in 2019. Yes, it's the final match of Kurt Angle's career, and it's not necessarily a terrible match, but it is universally hated. Why is that? Well, it's a WrestleMania 35, so you think that would be a fitting way to go out. But Angle's opponent is Baron Corbin, and most people disagreed with that choice of final opponent. It just wasn't a fitting person to end his career against. Angle looks extremely small and out of shape next to Corbin, who isn't even wrestling in a wrestling attire. The story isn't a compelling one either, and the match hardly feels important. The match is billed as Angle's final match, and you'd be expecting him to go all out in a real knockdown drag-out affair, but instead no. It's just over in 6 minutes. Fans wanted John Cena to be Kurt Angle's final match, and WWE even went as far as having Corbin tell Angle in the match, "You can't see me." Vince reportedly laughed at fans and said "F*** them, so a lot of bad feeling around this match. Angle misses the moonsault and Corbin beats him with just one move. A horrible, depressing end to a legendary career. Why was he beaten so easily? He barely put up a fight. Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, this was not. In WWE's defence, Angle himself said he was done at this point and wanted to retire. It still doesn't stop this being a miserable ending though. You'd think there would be one final big move or something to remember him by. Instead, everyone would rather forget this part of his career even happened. And that's the list. As I said, no disrespect to Kurt whatsoever. It is a miracle I could even find 9. I did want 10, but it wasn't possible. I'm sure someone can let us know in the comments what I missed to get us to 10. When do you think Kurt should have retired from wrestling, and what do you think his retirement match should have been? The Hawk still misses Angle in the ring on a daily basis, it's true. And if you don't agree with that, I'll show you a girl what she never knew.